one of the underlying themes, as you may have discovered, is working together, working collaboratively with one another. Too often, when I go out to a jurisdiction, you'll see high levels of dysfunctionality because the judges may be siloed over here, district attorney's office siloed over there, the defense function is siloed, and it's anything but a criminal justice system. So the next two programs are a wonderful example of a jurisdiction working together to really have a system. That's not to say that there's not some cussing and fighting and tensions, but they really do. And I had the opportunity to meet the elected district attorney in El Paso early on when I became in my current position. And matter of fact, one of our very first studies that the commission endorsed and moved forward with the Public Policy Research Institute was closing the direct filing, closing the paper trap, and it was published in 2006. And that is what Jaime Esparza is going to talk about, and Lori Hughes, who is his one of his trial chiefs, she's going to talk about their electronic portal, which defense lawyers have access in their office. The public defender's office has access to it in their office. They did this on their own nickel. The county developed it, paid for it, and it's really quite incredible what they've done. One of the things on Jaime's resume that's not listed, and I think makes him a very good district attorney, is he was first assistant public defender before he became the elected DA. So that wasn't noted on his bio in the materials, but I do think when somebody has the experience wearing different hats, it makes you more effective regardless of what it is. And Lori has a tremendous amount of experience. I've seen her presentations before on this because not often do people get excited about data portals and data and all of that. But these two folks are absolutely incredible. So let's please welcome Jaime Esparza and Lori Hughes.
Well, good morning. I get to go first because I'm the boss, and then you get to hear Lori. I want to tell you about our DIMS project, but I'm really glad that you're also here to listen to our portal project, because the portal allows us to share our file with the defense electronically and through the internet. And I've been a prosecutor for many years, and I was a public defender. I'm board certified. This is what I do. And I think sharing the file is real important. And we were able to do that within the county. And I think it's one of the smartest things we've done. The DIMS project is a 24-hour intake project. So it's my last slide, but I see Dr. Carmichael here to my left. And I have said her name many times because the 24-hour project I'm going to talk to you about has to do with how we process our cases. But then, lo and behold, Jim came to see me, Dr. Carmichael came, and they wanted to study us, and they compared us to Harris County and to San Antonio. And if you want to look at that evaluation, that report, it's in my last slide that you'll see how you can catch it on the web. All right, and if you just go straight to the TIDC website, you only get the summary. But I'm going to give you the address. If you're interested, you can look at the entire paper, which I think really makes a difference. And what I'm about to tell you, I think, is factually based. And as a result of Texas A&M and Dr. Carmichael, I can tell you that it's factually based. So one of the things that Jim told you about was that I was a prosecutor in Houston, Texas. So that's where I started after law school. I was an ADA there for 4 years, tried lots of cases before I went home to El Paso. I was an AD there for a little bit. Then I was a public defender before I ran for elected office. And almost immediately after I was elected, I went to the intake system that Houston has. Now, no other jurisdiction in the state does this but Houston and El Paso. But I'm happy to share this with you because I think many of you can do this. And if I tell you anything about my project, I will tell you that, and I'm glad Commissioner Pettis is here because I got to always suck up to the commissioners. But I'll tell you, I say this every budget year, that this DIMS project saves the county millions. And it saves millions because when you go through the study that A&M did, you'll see that as a result of the way we intake cases, we say no to about 20% of our cases. So that's a huge savings to the county. We don't book them, we don't arrest them, we don't have to house them. All those liability issues are gone. So you might wonder, well, is that because we're just so quick? And maybe, and just maybe, we intake too quickly. And so we're compromising our cases and our decision. But when Dr. Carmichael studied us, we were in a really unique place in El Paso. So 90% of my business is with the El Paso Police Department, and about 10% of my business is with the Sheriff's Department, and then there are others, but that's really the bulk of my work. So the Sheriff's Department wasn't doing the 24-hour intake, which we call DIMS. So Dr. Carmichael got to study the El Paso Police Department and the Sheriff's Department. So two different processes, right? The Sheriff's Department does it probably the way your jurisdictions are currently doing it. The arrest is made, the file goes to the DA, and then eventually there is an up or down on whether to charge. So we call that the regular route versus the 24-hour. So what do you think? Before I show you these slides, I want to tell you this story because I think this really is very telling. So when we did it the 24-hour way, right, we were saying no, we were declining about just under 20% of our cases. And when we were doing it the regular route way, under the same time period, right, how many cases do you think we were declining? Just under 20%. So it didn't really matter if the prosecutor did it within hours, and it didn't matter if the prosecutor did it 2 weeks later. And the reason that is, and the reason I believe in this process, and I've given this talk to prosecutors too, I haven't really sold it, but here's my last attempt to probably sell it, and I'm really happy to be invited to tell you about it because I have this rule. I've been doing this a long time, and I think when the police officer leaves the scene, he's never coming back. He only comes back on TV. He doesn't come back in real life. And so if he comes back, so if that's true, then why can't I make my decision? If that's all my available evidence. And we use DIMS to handle misdemeanors and routine felonies. So we're not making a decision on a murder case within hours, but we're doing it with misdemeanors and routine felonies. So if he's never coming back and that report is written, and it's highly unlikely that that report is going to change, how come I can't decide whether or not I think that case is prosecutable? And so we use that theory, and it has allowed us to process our cases much more quickly. And frankly, I'm very pleased. If it was an election year, I would tell you that we're a safe city because of the DA, but the fact of the matter is that we are a safe city for a variety of reasons. Law enforcement, the community, where we live, all sorts of reasons. But we've been doing this for 1994, so 22, 23 years, and we've been one of the safest cities in the country for our size. So it doesn't affect your public safety. So I really wanted to, before I distracted you with my slides, I wanted you to really kind of get an idea of why El Paso does it. And the savings, it's in the millions because we're not housing these guys, right? We're not getting a lawyer. And Dr. Carmichael did a really smart thing that I never thought of. She also calculated the savings to the accused. The person that we picked up stopped and then declined to prosecute, and so he never got booked. He probably didn't lose his job. He didn't have to go to tell work 2 days later that I was in jail, and then find out 2 weeks later that I declined the case, right? And she calculated that savings. And so there's a huge savings to the community, and there's a huge savings to the county. So it's just a quicker way of intake. You know, every DA's office has an intake department. Some people call it screening, some people call it intake. We call our 24-hour project DIMS. It stands for District Attorney Information Management System. And we probably could have got a better acronym than DIMS, but it is what it is. And so we have a screening department 8 to 5. And those lawyers screen the more complex cases. They screen the cases that don't fit under the DIMS category, which you'll see in a minute. So they're busy 8 to 5. But after 5 and before 8, we are on duty all the time. There's always a lawyer available. We have a specific location at a police station nearby, and they call us, and we either thumbs up or thumbs down cases. So, for instance, if there's a DWI, we can say yes or no to that charge. And I do a lot of work on domestic violence. If there's a domestic violence charge, we're going to say yes or no to those cases. And it's really helpful because I have a domestic violence project where we go out and see the victim of the domestic violence case within 24 hours of the arrest of the perpetrator. Well, we can do that with confidence because we've already decided whether we're going to take the case or not. That doesn't mean we won't dismiss it down the road, but at least we know it's past that initial screening. And so we accept the case, we review it, and in misdemeanors, we can file it. So you might be wondering, well, El Paso is about 900,000. We're short of 1 million people. I handle about 16 to 17,000 misdemeanors a year and about 7,000 felonies. So you have an idea. I have 90 lawyers that work in the office. There are about 180 personnel total in the office. So I think from just a management standpoint, it is quicker processing. We could have waited to get those cases, and this is probably what happens in your jurisdictions. Your law enforcement makes an arrest on a Saturday. The prosecutor's probably not going to get it till Monday, maybe later. When the study was done back in 2006, it was 2 weeks. I can tell you, when my days as a public defender, my bread and butter was to go to the jail magistrate. We had one back then in El Paso, as to ask for an examining trial. And I did that on a regular basis because the DA back then could not produce the file for 2 weeks. And my guy was in jail, and so I'd have to get an examining trial, and I'd have witnesses lined out, and the magistrate all upset, and the prosecutor standing there, and the prosecutor's having trouble producing the case, right? I think many jurisdictions have that same issue, right? We try, under the 24-hour system, we try to beat that process. So when he's in custody, the officer can give us a call from the scene, or he can give us a call from the police station. It kind of depends. And we've been doing it so long, I think a police officer generally knows when the case is going to be taken and when it's not going to be taken, or if it's questionable. For instance, if it's a domestic violence call and he can't decide whether or not to take it, he probably thinks he's not going to make an arrest, the perpetrator's already left, hard to determine who the first aggressor was, he'll call us because he wants somebody to say, no, don't come in, don't bring him in. And so he uses us to do that, and we do that. We listen to the facts of the case, and then we'll decide yes or no what to do. It's a little odd because I'm looking over my screen over here to the left, so forgive me for that. I'm trying to keep track of what case What I'm going to move is to this one, because you might wonder what cases are available. Well, it's a warrantless arrest. So under Chapter 14, those are the situations in which we can take a warrantless. It's a whole bunch of cases. The busiest, what keeps me busy after 5 and before 8, DWIs. That's the cases that I deal mostly with. I bet that's in your jurisdiction. And assault, family violence. But I can have a theft. You name it. All sorts of cases can come through DIMS, and it really works. It works. We've been able to do that in a really smart way. Now, I know the panel from El Paso behind us, we have a magistrate system. That's a new system. We've been doing it, how long, Judge? 2 years? About 2 years. We worked without a magistrate for many years. And I don't have enough time to tell you how that worked, but it worked. I'm very pleased with the new system, now that there's a magistrate on duty 24 hours, but we were able to function without that, and we were able to do it legally. And we had some controversy, this issue, my program. I got sued several times in federal court. I can happily tell you that those were resolved in our favor. But one of the confusions was the DA setting the bond. The law does not allow the DA to set the bond. But the law does allow a peace officer to set the bond. And so the El Paso Police Department sets the bond. Now, with the magistrate, we set the bond, the magistrate reviews it. It's really an unresolved issue at this point, but for the moment, we still are using that process of having the police officer set the bond. This is who uses our program right now. My biggest user is the El Paso Police Department. We write reports differently, so I gotta make sure I don't want to go over my time, because I want you to hear what we do in our portal. But one of the fundamental changes that had to happen, look, I've been the DA for 25 years, so there are officers now who don't ever know how the old way was. But I'll bet in your jurisdictions, you have reports that come with reports that are written by the witnesses, and they're these long, lengthy things. Okay, well, I came from Harris County. I know Bob Wessel's here, and they got a great system. We write summaries, and because the police officer has to get that report in, or you can't go home. We need to get it done. Let's move on. And so we write reports a little differently than they used to. I don't know how you do it in your jurisdiction, but it was necessary for us to do that in order to process the case. And my time is up. So I can only tell you, come on up, Lori. I can only tell you that I'm really proud of this project. I copied Harris County. I wasn't able to do it with all the bells and whistles that they do it, but I also did it within the budget of the county. Our infrastructure grew as the technology grew. But when I initially started, all I did was take advantage of the current technology that we had, the report writing system that the El Paso Police Department had, and then we built on that. Now we're pretty sophisticated with the data, how we transfer the data, but that came in time. We've been doing it for over 20 years, and so now we're much smarter. We don't use paper logs, and it's become for us, it's the way of doing business. And officers don't know. I don't think officers know any other way to do it. The most important thing is I think it really is efficient. I think it's really smart, and it's a huge cost savings to the county. And I'll let Lori tell you about the portal.
I am a trial division chief with the DA's office, and I'm talking about the portal, and I'm going to go through pretty quickly what the portal is. It is our file that is accessible via the internet. So anywhere one of our lawyers or a defense attorney has access to the internet, they have access to look at our case. Who can use the portal? A defense attorney in good standing with the state bar who has registered online to use the portal and attended a short training that we offer at the DA's office. Which cases can a defense attorney access via the portal? Only the cases that are assigned to that attorney, only the cases for which that attorney is the attorney of record. With our public defender's office, everyone in their office has access to all of their cases. What information can a defense attorney find on the portal? The things you'd expect to see in our file. Police reports, media, which includes photos, videos, audio recordings, records, phone records, business records, judgments, pen packets, lab reports. The courts file, which is something you don't find in a paper file. We have all the documents that have been filed with the clerk's office accessible through the portal. The hearing dates, the plea recommendation, and the defendant's local criminal history. How does a defense attorney access new cases for clients? That request is made via an email that the defense attorney sends to us at daportal@upcounty.com, and they will receive access within about 24 to 48 hours of our receiving the request. How long does it take to gain access to the portal? Again, within about 24 to 48 hours from one business day to the next. We have staff monitoring this email 8 to 5 to ensure that we're giving the quickest access that we possibly can. What are the criteria to access a case on the portal? In order for an attorney to be given access to a case, the defense attorney must be a registered portal user. They must request access, and then we verify a couple of things: that they are, in fact, the attorney of record, that the defendant has been arrested or arraigned, and that the case has been filed. New information on a case is pulled in real time on the portal with each login. So if law enforcement has presented a case to us that we have filed and then has gone back and done additional work on the case, we access those reports via the portal with each new login. So there's no longer a search for a file to add the additional information into. It simply is put into Portal and it's accessible there. So let's take a look. The portal is accessible via the internet. It's on the county's website on a secure location. We enter our login information and we go into Portal, enter a cause number. Our numbers are the year and then a 0D for district court or a 0C for county court. And then we see the actual case. And so what you're seeing here is you're seeing information being pulled from our system called Odyssey. All of the courts and all of the county uses that system. And we're pulling the data from that system that gives us kind of where we are and who we are. It pulls the booking photo. And then if you notice over on the left side of the screen, there's that black bar. That information gives us the different fields that we can look into. We'll quickly go through each of those, and then towards the end, I can answer any questions if there are any. The first page we were looking at is the case information page. The next page is records. That includes lab reports. And so what you see here is you've got the actual portal here, and then that's the lab report. Just click on the link and it pulls that lab report up. If there were phone records or business records, those would be available in the same manner. The next area is the law enforcement reports. There's a series of fields underneath that, and we click on any one of those and it opens up the actual report. And so you can see each one of those reports. Everything that law enforcement has through iLeads, which is our local law enforcement system, we are able to access. The media, what you're looking at here is an audio recording. I'm not live on the internet doing this, and so the audio recording won't play for you here. But we actually can hear the audio recordings. Those generally are 911 calls, can also include jail phone calls. Photos, you can see those in real time. And then videos. In our domestic violence program, we take videos. Law enforcement has been trained to take videos of the victim, and those videos are accessible via the portal. This is the court's file, so everything that has been put into the court's file is accessible via the portal. So you never have to wonder what's been filed and what hasn't. You're able to see that. The recommendation tab is where we document what our recommendation is. The defense bar has the ability to document there as well. This does not take the place of negotiations. We still negotiate face-to-face. Our public defender is here and knows that that's how we do things. But we document here, and so we make a recommendation. The defense wants something slightly different. They can document what they're requesting here. Then we have the hearings tab. This tells us what hearings have been and are set on the case. And we have the defendant history. This shows us what our local system, this is not a rap sheet, this is what our local system shows that this particular defendant has pending or has had pending. And then we have related cases. This is a new feature with Portal, our latest version of Portal. And this feature allows us to connect offenses. So if someone has been charged with a continuous family violence or a continuous sexual assault, and there are multiple offense reports on that, we can link those other reports here, and they have the real-time access to the law enforcement reports on those other events. If a defendant has extraneous offenses that we want to make sure the defense attorney knows about, we can put those here. If a witness has potential Brady information in the form of another offense, we can link that here. And then finally, we have the ability to produce, we call it a discovery list. It's a 3914 list of the things that have been made available to the defense. When Michael Morton was enacted, that was one of the sort of sticking points for us. We were already giving this access. The defense already had access to all of these things that you have seen, but we didn't keep track of it. We didn't keep a list of it. And so our IT worked really hard to make sure that we could get that list. And so this list now can be produced. We can produce it, the defense can produce it, and it allows us to keep track of everything that they have been given access to. And then this is signed and filed prior to disposition of the case, unless, of course, the disposition is dismissal. Can you hold your question? I'm almost done, and then I can take all the questions. 2009, we started development with the county IT. It was a collaboration. We used existing resources. The IT department was extremely helpful, and our team at the DA's office worked together. It was prosecutor-driven. 2011 was when we started giving the defense access to portal. We still had paper files at that time. 2014, Michael Morton. 2015, we went paperless on our misdemeanor cases. 2016, we started paperless on our felonies, and we're completing the felony process this year. And in 2017, we had a portal upgrade. So for about the last 8 or 9 years, we've been working on this. All right. I saw the question. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have a question about how to make this work. Sorry? There we go. I have a question. Is there special handling of certain types of discovery evidence like child pornography, CAC interviews, sane pictures, things like that?
Yes, those are not made available via the portal. They are made available to the defense. And so obviously pornography, you need to come to our office, and we've got a special dedicated place that you can watch that. In terms of a child witness or child victim interview, the same thing. Come to our office and you can watch that. In terms of the sane photos, sensitive photos, look at those at our office. And so it's really just a matter of making the appointment. Is that answering your question? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Who paid for your portal? Well, we did it with existing resources. Personnel from our office worked on it, and so we had a group of probably 10 folks who were working together to, okay, what do we need? What does this need to do? How does it need to work? And our county's IT department, information technology department, was very, very willing and progressive to work with us to develop it. And so as far as paying for it, it came from existing resources, just using the time and energy that we had there. And then as we've worked through it, probably 2013-14, we needed to beef up some of the Wi-Fi access in the courts because we weren't able to actually get the best access there. And this is our file now, and so if you can't get to the internet, you can't get to our file. And so we've done some things along the way in terms of equipment, but for the most part, it's just been with existing resources. Okay.
The development didn't raise our budget. The antennas, we paid for that out of our forfeiture funds because there wasn't enough signal within the courthouse. But as a rule, it was just from the county budget. It took us a little while. You can see the timeline. But for the most part, we worked with the county. It was slow coming. We're really happy with it.
All right, well, let's give this panel a